On this episode of ResiWeek, Microsoft has a new thermostat, URC releases Total Control 2, and Amazon is creating their own Geek Squad. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by FSR.
This is ResiWeek episode 77, Amazon Hordes.
This is ResiWeek.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Ted Green. He's the editor of Strategy.com. How are you, sir?
Matt, I'm doing great. Always good to be, usually good to be.
Usually good.
Occasionally good to be with you, but always good to be with your viewers and listeners.
Wow. I see where you rate me. It's cool. It's fine. Way to start it off for John, who's a newbie. Then we have John Robbins. He is the executive director of HTSA. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Hey, thanks for being here. If you don't know HTSA, it's the Home Technology Specialists of America, which is a nice little group you guys have going there, stateside, since they're not in Canada. Wah, wah. But let's kick this off, gentlemen. This comes to us from TheVerge.com. Microsoft has unveiled a beautiful Cortina-powered thermostat. Yeah, so Microsoft is making a thermostat. I don't want to say this comes out of left field, but it does a little come out of left field. What they are doing is they have built a smart thermostat that they are embedding with Cortina, which if you've got a Windows 10 device, you know that is their smart assistant, a la Siri, a la Alexa, et cetera, et cetera. The nice thing to note about this is that Microsoft isn't trying to build this in-house. They've partnered with Johnson Controls, who is a massive player in that commercial control HVAC building systems world, but that this new thermostat, as I said, has Cortina. It is looking to be the hub of your home. John, one, is this just adorable that Microsoft is trying to jump into the thermostat market? Because if you had asked me before this article was written, what's Microsoft going to jump into next? I would have said cars before I said thermostats.
No, I don't think it's by accident, Matt. I think they've taken a pretty good look at what's going on with Nest, and that Nest has become a pretty significant partner in the home, in conjunction, doing it under the Google banner. And I think Microsoft has taken a good look at that and said, well, we're going to be we want to be in people's homes. And I think, by the way, Nest again is getting a lot of traction. But I think the fact that they have partnered with Johnson Controls, who obviously has some experience in the space, I think it's a pretty smart move on their part. And the product looks really good. So I don't think it's by any accident that they've decided they're going to try to get their little piece of the residential space here.
I must say, you do bring up a really good point, because when you talk to most HVAC installers, most of the guys that run in the HVAC world, the thing they'll tell you about Nest is that it's a software company that decided they were going to try and make a thermostat, opposed to a HVAC company, a thermostat company that decided to add some smarts to a really good thermostat. That's just a little aside for you as an extra. Ted, the fact that this has Cortina built in, and I don't want to debate the quality of Cortina or how well it works, because I know on all of our programming laptops, it's turned off because we don't want to use it. But the fact that this is going to be a thermostat that can go into everyone's home, because everyone needs a thermostat, and it's going to have a voice assistant built into it, which outside of the Ecobee version 4, which is another smart thermostat, but does not have the reach that most of the other major players in this market have. The fact that they have Cortina built in, is that going to lead a charge for some of these other major manufacturers like Nest and even Honeywell to put direct connections to voice assistants in their thermostats? Because now you don't need that extra puck. You don't need that extra thing.
I think the answer is that that Microsoft recognized that they were behind a curve in the rapid adoption of IoT technologies. And I think they're really scrambling to address that. And by Cortina, of course, you mean Cortana.
Sorry, Cortana.
Cortana. And Cortana is their voice interface, which comes out of Windows 10's phones.
Mm-hmm.
And much like Siri came out of iOS phones and Google Assistant out of Android phones. And I think Microsoft's playing some serious catch up. If you, not too long ago, in fact, I think there was a link in the article. There's a link to an announcement they made for addressing appliances, toasters, refrigerators, not dissimilar than Samsung, who's made a similar kind of commitment. So I think what you're seeing is you're seeing Microsoft getting on the smart home bandwagon, driving IoT business. Let's face it, as at one time one of the most profitable and maybe still software companies in the world, Microsoft stands to have a real edge when it comes to big data and many of the elements of an IoT ecosphere. And so I think you're seeing them really come at it hard and fast. I think it was a brilliant move on their part to partner with Johnson Controls. I think they have a very cool little design with that translucent panel.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Which shows the background very nicely. So it's not just a Me Too, it's not just a Nest imitation. It's got some chops on its own. It's got a occupancy sensor built into it. It does air quality checks. I give them some credit. They're late to the party, but they showed up with a pretty cute girl.
Or boy, depending on who you are.
That's true. That's true. We should,
Matt, it's something I'd like to add in on.
Yeah, please.
Being a little self-serving for my channel is I've had multiple conversations with Nest over the last 6 months or so. I am amazed by the number of people that actually hit Nest's site.
It's huge.
Consumers that hit Nest's site and are looking for installation. It is astounding the number of people that Nest is looking for the right partners to send end users to have the product installed. It's really an astounding number.
Well, and there was an article, I don't have it. If we can find it, we'll throw it into the description. There was an article about a company, actually I believe in Toronto, that has built like a $500,000 division doing just Nest installations because, as we kind of alluded to earlier, some of the HVAC guys don't want to get into that. They don't want to touch that, which leaves a lot of opportunity for your home technology professional to jump on board. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to a story that comes to us from CE Pro, written by Julie Jacobson. This is an exclusive overhaul of Total Control by URC. They have completely rebuilt and redesigned their home automation platform that they're going to launch just before CEDIA of this year. Now, I won't bore you with reading through the entire article, but some of the highlights of this is that they are going after, I'm going to honestly try and say that they're going after the new markets and the younger demographics with this full new interface that is really built like a lot of the interfaces for some of the AVRs, with specific rooms and things like that built down. Ted, Total Control in its first iteration was received very, very well by a lot of URC dealers. I will say that even for myself, I wasn't I didn't love Total Control version 1. My company, we looked at it. We did not go after it. It just didn't fit what we were doing at the time. When I read this story, this is the first time URC has made me excited about a product since the MX980, which goes back a ways if you know the URC line. And that's not to take anything away from URC, but this is a really sexy looking interface. Is this the direction that your average consumer is going to be expecting from a home automation platform?
I think what you're seeing from URC is some real innovation. I would be willing to bet. Now I don't know, but I would be willing to bet that Crestron doesn't worry so much about AMX. They probably know what AMX is up to. They probably don't worry so much about Control 4. They probably have a good handle on what Control 4 is up to. Where I think you're going to see innovation, and I find this in a lot of product segments, you find the greatest amount of innovation coming from that next tier supplier. So URC, with their total control system, URC stands for Universal Remote Control. They were one of the largest remote control manufacturers in the world. And when they first rolled out total control, this is where worlds began to merge between the high-end control solutions with their huge palaces filled with thousands of engineers coding away every day, developing new PC boards and coming up with all kinds of electronic digital wizardry, and the remote control world, the mainstream kind of consumer. To me, what URC is demonstrating here is the unique competitive advantage that they have, which is they have years of data of working with and designing for that critical step in the chain, which is the connection to the consumer. Nobody understands better how consumers interact with their products, work with their products, and design for that than the control suppliers. And there's a few of them out there. I think, a couple of them have made very, very serious inroads in going after the control solution, which is and URC was definitely one of the leaders. URC and RTA are two that come to mind. URC's total control. I think you're right. The first iteration, and usually the first iteration of any new product is not necessarily the best iteration. It's their starting point. I think you're seeing a substantive update of that. I guess if I had any criticism, I would criticize the fact that it took them 5 years to develop this update. In today's world, it's a 24/7 go model. They should have been rolling interim updates, and I'm sure there was some of that. But other than that, this looked very big. It looked very expansive. They had some very admirable goals in here, which is to devise a programming environment that was both easy and intuitive for newer integrators, as well as able to be sophisticated enough for the larger systems. So it's an interesting move on their part. We'll see how the market adopts it. But most of the URC integrators I've spoken with are very happy with the brand, and I think they'll get pretty wide adoption.
Very good. John, are we going to continue to see this vast chasm between products like URC, which I'm not going to call lower end, but more entry level? Again, they're fully featured. They can do everything you want, but there's a stigma that they're an entry level product compared to the big boys like Crestron or AMX. Are we going to just continue to see that chasm widen, even though the feature set may not be as wide as that chasm suggests?
I don't think so. I think that there's still going to be room. Let me step back on the URC thing. I'll be a little more blunt. I think URC pooped the bed with 1.0 those years ago that they brought it out. And part of the reason that they did was they tried to bring it out in segments. They brought it out before it was ready, before it was fully baked. And here we are 5 years later, and they could never make up. Admittedly, they'll be the first to admit it. They could never make up the mistakes they made by trying to bring it out in sections. And I got to tell you, I met with them last week. I love the look at 2.0, and I think 2.0 is going to cut into C4. I think to an extent it's going to cut into some Savant action. But I will tell you, back to your question, Matt, I do not think – I don't think it's going to widen. I think there's still a strong need for folks in our channel to come in and do this work for people and get them up and running from a technology standpoint. And I think our big job is to get people into performance other products that work along with these kind of platforms. But I do not think that the chasm is going to widen. I think it's going to kind of maintain where it is, and I think there will be a strong need for us to come in and continue to integrate with these kind of products from a lighting standpoint, home entertainment standpoint, and a lot of other standpoints. So I think we're kind of in I think we're in a good spot right now.
Very good. Let me ask, either one of you can answer this. If you're not a URC dealer right now, looking at this and really liking the look of it, what's the steps for a dealer who may not be as familiar with URC or any other new product that comes out? What's the best step for them to do to go after and kind of figure out whether that product works for them?
Ted, you want me to answer that?
Yeah, I was going to say I'll defer to John on that because he can speak. He can speak to it on a couple of different levels. Go ahead, John.
I think URC is taking the right steps. They have a challenge. The big challenge is that, quite honestly, Control4 has done a spectacular job over the last 36 months or so. As far as putting product in dealers, toolbox that they can put in people's homes, and it really works, and it programs fairly easily, and it's pretty seamless. They've done a terrific job. URC, what they are doing right, if they were just trying to be out there selling it, they'd have a really hard battle because when guys have success, particularly with control product, it's hard to move them off of it. They get their folks trained. The jobs become fairly cookie cutter. They go in seamlessly. The thing that they are doing right, that URC is doing right, is they're getting product in dealers' hands and letting them play with it and letting them see where the advantages are. And then once you get it in their hands, they're going to see these cool new GUIs that URC has brought in. And I think they'll get some traction. But they know that this is, this is not for the faint of heart what they're trying to go after. And part of that is due to the fact that C4 has done really a terrific job, again, over the last 36 months.
Very good. All right,
yeah,
gentlemen.
let me just jump in real quick too, Matt. I think that the control segment is it's a challenging segment right now. I think that there's so many players, and they're all developing extended solutions. They're all kind of coming up with, kind of cradle to grave solutions to try to serve as many segments of the market. I mean, it was a little bit of a mind blower for me when Crestron, for example, did an integration with Sonos. To me, that showed me that they're going to extend their reach, and they're going to try to serve more of the needs of a wider swath of integrators that are out there. There's so many good solutions. I mean, you've had, I forget the young lady's name from Claire Controls on a few times. They have a great solution. URC, RTI, other players that are out there, the Rust Sounds of the world. I mean, there's a lot of good solutions out there. Alon, Alon's a great solution. Like John says, I think Control4, this latest line that Control4 came out with was dynamite. I mean, they did their homework and solved a lot of issues. So it's kind of like, I think it's a very challenging job for an integrator that is new to the game to try to pick his partner because there's so many good solutions out there. It's kind of hard to make a bad decision, but there's certainly a lot to choose from.
One other thing, don't sell. I'm getting really good reports out of more entry level systems coming out of Savant right now. So I would not sell that one short either.
Well, and I think that's the biggest challenge is there's so many solutions out there, whereas in the past, there was 2 or 3 that you would really look at, and then everything else was just kind of peripheral. Everybody's up their game. Everyone has good product on the market. You just have to find the one that works best for you.
Great.
Very good, gentlemen. Let's move on to a story that comes to us from strategy.com and Mr. Ted Green. Are Amazon geeks geekier than Best Buys? This story that Ted wrote here goes over Amazon testing their new in-home installations, as well as their tech assistant and what's the term? I just lost it. That's awesome. Dead air. Their opportunity to have an Amazon expert come out to your home and kind of give you an overview and a 45-minute demo of some of the solutions that are available to you. John, are we seeing the start of the DIY with Amazon or the DIY with Best Buy situation where the Amazon techs and the Best Buy techs will deal with a lot of the off-the-shelf products, leaving not necessarily a lot of room for your local integrator to come in and work in that market segment? Is that what we're moving towards?
I don't believe so. I'm still really bullish on the integrators going in and providing a solution for consumers. I still think that, and look, I mentioned it earlier, part of it is even something as simple, which would be total DIY, which would be a Nest thermostat. Mm-hmm. Even something as simple as that, folks are still looking for someone to come in and do the work for them and to hand them a finished product that they can start enjoying technologies and hopefully performance entertainment product in their homes. So no, I don't think so. I think we've got to continue to train these folks properly and the folks that we're sending into people's homes, and so that there is a good end user experience. I again am very bullish on our channel for integration.
Now, I don't know if anyone's ever done a post installation survey, but given the Amazon surveys, they're saying that right now in their online reviews, they're getting 95%. I would argue, and I don't want to be negative towards our industry, but just because we're kind of in that contractor channel, I'd love to see if we were pushing 95%.
Is that a question?
Yeah, it was sort of. It was half amusing on my part, and hoping one of you was going to save me.
I think the Amazon number is very Trump-like. And I will tell you, admittedly, I don't think that our integration channel hits anywhere even close to 95% satisfaction rate.
Yeah.
And not because we're not doing a good job, not because we're doing a bad job, but because there are a lot of factors involved.
Of course.
But I will tell you, I would highly doubt that Amazon 95%.
Ted, question for you. You've obviously researched this fairly heavily. Obviously, you wrote the article. When we look at what Amazon's trying to get into, Best Buy, for example, you can have Geek Squad come out, repair your computer, fix your Wi-Fi, put in a Philips smart bulb for you. Heck, they'll mount your TV. They might even route a cable behind a wall. Are we expecting, or do you have any insight on whether Amazon is going to be offering that level and that variety of services? Or is it going to be as simple as coming in, checking your Wi-Fi, showing you maybe a Google Mesh product, or sorry, not a Google Mesh product, but another Mesh product, some Alexa stuff like that? Or are they going to get into cutting a hole in the wall?
Okay, so I think, so first of all, I have to say this guy's one of my favorite writers.
Mhm.
On
He's
this article.
fantastic. He's
I
absolutely
think he does
fantastic.
a great job.
I
But
think you're
having said
biased,
that,
but he's fantastic.
but besides that, this article, the bigger picture of this article, the bigger story to this is my alarm bell for the future of IoT industry. And while I don't disagree with John, I would say that I think it would be wise for our industry to watch how this develops. Remember, we just talked a moment ago about how iteration one is never the perfect solution.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is iteration one for Amazon. We right now have a nationwide network of service personnel in the form of Geek Squad and associated with Best Buy that is doing a lot of business, including a lot of installations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we've learned via this article that another nationwide network of Geek Squad-ish type service from Amazon is being rolled out. As I mentioned in the article, a lot of this is the result of them supporting the Alexa and their attack, if you will, on the smart home market and the smart home channel. The fact that they will send somebody to your home for 45 minutes for free, who will set up a system, demonstrate it to you, show you how great voice control is, and then leave you with a customized list of items for you to purchase from Amazon. So that you can have that that experience in your home. The fact for $99 they'll come to your home and they'll install either the Ecobee 4 or Nest, or where there are still some integrators that are not integrating Nest into their systems.
Mm-hmm.
My point to you is this may go nowhere, but I would keep a very close eye on this. It's clear to me that Amazon is very serious about this business. They're very serious about the smart home industry. I was very suspicious of them being a keynote at CEDIA and their desire to incorporate and enlist the aid of the independent integrator, when we now learn that they're hiring, in essence, their own factory integrators, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an interesting, there are multiple waves of interest in this story that I think bear watching. And, for $99, they're coming to your home and they're doing installations. And for a little more, they'll do a more sophisticated installation. Let's see where that goes. And they are enjoying a 95% consumer review. Could that be fudged a little? I suppose that could be fudged a little, but nonetheless, it's an impressive number. And, I wouldn't sell these guys short. They're serious about this business. They're going after the business. I think the future, and I think we've talked about it on this show, and I know you've talked about it on episodes I wasn't involved in, of where DIY is and where DIY is going. And is it an enemy or is it a friend? And the answer is, I don't know. But what I will tell you is that there are two very distinct visions of what the impact could be of the IoT world. Okay, and one of them, if you want to, I'll call them the pessimistic vision and I'll call it the optimistic vision. The pessimistic vision is that it sucks the wind out of our industry. It dumbs down the consumer to the products that they can easily sell and install, and it takes negatively impacts our ability to step them up to a more sophisticated solution. So that's the pessimistic viewpoint. They take the customer out of the market. The optimistic viewpoint is that they address mostly entry-level customers. They get them excited about smart home, and they create a step-up pool of customers for our industry to then step up and give them more customized and more sophisticated home solutions. I don't know which one of those. I obviously hope the optimistic solution is where we go. But I have watched industries decimated by resting on their laurels, thinking that these outsiders can never take over our business. And there's example where the outsiders won. So I would keep an eye on these guys. And that's why I wrote the article.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. John, if people want to connect with you or HTSA, where can they do that?
So we are www.htsa.com is our website. To see what we do as far as helping dealers from a information sharing, educational, as well as financial standpoint. Or they can feel free to reach out to me, John@htsa.net.
Very good.
And
By the way, John is Jon.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's Jon.
Jon at hdsa.net.
Very good. Ted, thanks again for joining us and giving us such good commentary today on your own article
Thanks for having me.
that you already wrote.
I know
Ted,
it well.
Where can people connect with you?
Well, I'm all over the internet, but, I'm on Twitter, twitter.com/TedGreen, TEDGREEN. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/TedGreen, TEDGREEN. Probably the best place to get me is on strategy.com. That's strata-gee.com, where you can see more of my articles, and I've got contact information right there.
Beautiful.
Oh, and by the way,
yes.
Happy birthday, John Robbins.
Is it your birthday today?
It is my birthday today.
Oh, I will go tell my wife because it's her birthday as well. I'm sure she will feel honored.
Yeah, we're probably about the same age.
I don't know where I get in trouble commenting on that, but I'm not touching it.
That was said with tongue firmly implanted.
Yep, not touching it still. Still don't want it.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. For myself, if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and every other social platform. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv. You'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows that cover all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our underwriters. We're extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out and support them as well. Thanks again for joining us. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.